Good evening, viewers, those who are watching us within Uganda and those who are in the diaspora. We are glad you have made NTV your #1 station, but also I'm very happy that NTV People's Parliament is your only favorite program in this country. Of course, it's the only program in this country that gives you an opportunity, or that gives Ugandans opportunity to speak about issues that affect their everyday life. Tonight, we are in Soroti District, yet to discuss a very important topic that does not only affect Teso, but the entire Uganda: inequality and poverty. How are the taxes that you are paying as a citizen impacting on your everyday life? Is this government delivering the best social service in this country, or there are still demands? That is what we are going to talk about in Soroti tonight. I'm your speaker, Agnes Nandutu. Honorable members, you're welcome to NTV People's Parliament. I'm glad you have come in big numbers. You are aware we are going to speak about inequality and poverty in this country. We want to see the impact of the taxes that you are paying on your everyday life. You are paying indirect tax, you are paying pay-as-you-earn tax, you are paying mobile social service tax, mobile money tax, but is that money delivering social service in the way that you want? Those are the things that we are going to discuss. But before I get the ball rolling, I'm inviting our partner Oxfam to give us an overview of the impact of taxes on our everyday life. Please, honorable member, you are welcome.
Oxfam has published a report today that shows that 26 richest people own half of the wealth that is worth half of the world's population. Now,
what about Uganda when we zero out?
When you come down to Uganda, recent statistics have shown that income inequality is increasing, poverty is widening, and I want to bring it to your perspective that poverty,
the rich are becoming richer,
the rich are becoming richer, and the poor are becoming poorer. Now, inequality does not just happen by chance. It's a matter of policy and public spending decisions. It's a matter of tax policy, the nature of tax policies that we have. We see, there's a tendency for government to actually pass policies that attract foreign direct investments. For example, many investors have tax holidays, many have tax exemptions, while the majority of the citizens still pay indirect taxes, as you said, which contributes greatly to our total tax revenue. Now, on the other hand of public spending, we are seeing a continuous cut in allocation to priority social sectors. Sectors like health and education will be getting cuts in this financial year, 019-020, which we are actually going into, including social development as well as water and environment. Let it be clear, when you cut investment to priority social sectors like health and education, it's going to have an impact on the quality of the services that are delivered in the community. Why? We believe that when you invest in priority social sectors like health and education, it puts either a virtual income or an income in the pocket of a citizen, especially if access, for example, to healthcare is free of charge or it is subsidized. But in case one cannot access services because there are no medicines in a hospital, because there are no health workers to attend to, one has to dig into his pocket to go and look for a quality service provider, which reduces the income, especially for low-income earners. Income that would have been invested somewhere, or in his private business, or in anything in the economy. When you do not invest in social services, it impacts into the pocket of the citizen, which leads to wider income inequalities and more poverty.
He has talked about poor service delivery. You pay a lot of taxes, but when you go to hospital, you are not finding drugs. When you go to education, there is universal primary education, but the quality of education is very poor. So you end up taking the children to private schools, which are so expensive for the majority of Ugandans to afford. The LC5 chairman of the district, what is your say?
As far as Soroti is concerned, we do our things according to the plan. And I want to encourage the people of Soroti that when you hear that there is a budget conference in your sub-county, in your village, please go and attend so that you tell us what to do. I want to give a good example, which I think Ekwe was talking about, is where people wanted us to work on the road called Omulala, when it was not in the plan. I told them I will not work until we put it on the what? In the plan. And I'm happy to report that when we put in the plan, we worked on the road. And if the money is given to us, which is given to us, we use it the way we have put it in the plan. Unfortunately, yes, we are talking about the revenue. But maybe at a certain time, the CFO who is present here will tell you how much are we collecting here and how we are using it. Because the imagination could be that we are collecting a lot of what? Money. But what I'm emphasizing here, our conditional grants which we get, we put it in the right word, in the right use. Speaker, I also want to say that what is that service the government is supposed to do? What is a service that a human or an individual is supposed to do? What is the service that NGOs are supposed to do? I wish we could get this. I think it will help us to get and make sure that the service we give our people is okay. I think I want to end up by saying, a person will give you more service if you appreciate what he has done. So I want to request that, yes, we in the district, we are doing something. But if we do, and there is no appreciation.
How do you want us to appreciate, Mr. Chairman?
To say, yes, you have done this, but we need this. Other to say you have done what? Nothing. There's no person who stays in a district council for 5 years and he does what? Nothing.
More districts are always created. And yet the national budget for persons with disability is 3 billion. Now 3 billion divided by 122 districts. How much is each district getting? Therefore, we are not getting the benefit of our taxes. Each time we go to supermarkets, we go to any place, we buy things, and we are still taxed indirectly. On the other side, we have inequality in government programs like SAGE. SAGE is given to the elderly people who may be pensioners or rich or having well-off children compared to a disabled person who has no livelihood. By nature is created incapacitated. Therefore, we feel we are not catered for in some benefits of government. We should at least be given monthly consideration as persons with disability. You know, as inflation goes on in this country, the standard of living also increases. Therefore, we need some support from government. There is no need of saying there is no money when we are taxpayers as citizens of Uganda. Also, on infrastructure, shoulder work by contractors. For example, in Soroti, we had the poor roads constructed by Usmid, not until the Usmid came in to intervene together with the new mayor, and now the roads were improved. Therefore, when contractors are given work, they intend to do shoulder work to steal from us, taxpayers. I think that is another level of corruption. And also, to find that persons with disability, other criteria like accessibility may not be provided. Because first of all, if you're constructing a poor road, which means you leave larger trenches, that people with disability may not have access to cross to the other side. We have government appointments. For example, Office of the President. People with disability are always not appointed as RDCs. And yet, RDC work is basically to sit in office and have soldiers escort you. Therefore, we feel cheated. We are not sharing the cake.
We are all aware that when you talk about income inequality, you are looking at the way resources are distributed. It could be in terms of goods and services. And to me, my focus is in almost 3 areas. There is income inequality in terms of individuals, income inequality in terms of businesses, income inequality in terms of regions. And as I speak now, I bring something that I want all of us to digest. Government, in terms of income distribution, in terms of managing the economy, in terms of stabilizing the economy, has a key role to play. And if you looked at three things that I would expect the government to do, one of them would be allocation of resources, the other one would be redistribution of resources, and the other one would be stabilization of the economy.
Has it been done by this government?
As I speak, all right, Speaker, it has not been done. There is totally what we call income discrimination. If you compare the standards of living in terms of regions, you will find that a child in Mbarara is having a better education, right from primary to the university. And as that person comes from the university, is also assured of a job. I'm just giving an example from Mbarara. Look at a child maybe who is coming from Katakwi.
It is just an example.
An example.
Okay.
You can do the investigation and find it. I want to say this, that there are three microeconomic problems. One of them is unemployment, the other one is unbalanced growth, and the third one is what we call inflation. If we look at the kind of government that we have today, the government decided to isolate in terms of growth. Government has decided to, actually the priorities, government tends to move with only one sector. And yet, the kind of economy that we have does not warrant moving with only one sector.
The reason, Mr. RDC, you have heard people speaking. There is inequality in terms of service delivery by government. You are representing the president in this district.
Honorable members, one thing I want to appeal to everybody here is to know that development is not about only government. Development is about everybody's involvement.
But we pay taxes, that is our involvement.
We pay taxes. When the resources are eventually got from the taxes, that money trickles down again to feed in the plans that we derived from the villages. And the money,
so why don't we have enough teachers in classes?
Definitely, government is like a family. You will realize that there are many demands that are there in government. And there are many demands in public. You realize my colleague here was trying to put an issue about disability. And he totally insinuates that an RDC is just there to be escorted. So you can see that kind of misconception. I am here hurrying to go and monitor a government program to ensure that money that was sent to Soroti has been properly utilized. I call upon all of us, one, to create awareness amongst ourselves, and to know the roles. What are you supposed to do? But I bet you government tries its best in ensuring that there is a proper service delivery in this country. As I wind up, I want to call upon everybody to participate. When it comes to a government program, tell us, before you start commenting on the shadow work, what have you done in raising the issue to that extent? That is all I want to appeal to everybody. We shall see Uganda transformed, and we shall see all of us develop.
Let's go for a short break. And when we come back, we shall hear more from the people of Soroti. Yes, welcome back. You are still watching NTV People's Parliament, sitting here in Soroti District, talking about inequality in Uganda and poverty. The theme is Even It Up and Inequality in Uganda. We are looking at the impact of our taxes, or the impact of Ugandan taxes on the social service delivery. Are these taxes touching or making their lives better, or they are becoming poorer as they pay the taxes? Yes, let the people of Soroti this.
The budget for local government has kept on dwindling up to nearly 12% of the national budget. To me, a local government is like a house girl or a housemaid who's given to manage a family of 12. and the father leaves behind 2,000, and he tells the citizens, the children, that everything you need is there. I mean, if you look at it in terms of deliverance, local governments have been reduced to budgeting like a school management committee. Soroti District has a deficit of 400 classrooms, but annually indicative budgeting figures point only at building 3 classrooms. Isn't that the level of a school management committee? And they begin fighting in the council, where do you take this? If these 3 classes, where do you take? That is one area. The other aspect, you can't deepen tax. You can't collect more money. That's why government is now scrapping, going to issues to do with OTT. You are actually, instead of broadening tax, you are deepening tax. You can't tax more poor people. According to UBO statistics, 20% of the households are controlling 90% of the wealth of Uganda. You can imagine that. And the same who are rich are less taxed. The tax burden is on these people. The rich are not paying. Look at the research. And then when you go to resource mobilization, the policy is shifting. Soroti Municipal Council, for example, has been collecting local revenue up to the tune of 380 million from buses and taxi operators. 380 million per annum. But that was wiped out by a simple statement from the president, saying that today, all that money is collected from the center. These people need 12 million to collect garbage per month, and they have lost 308. Isn't that inequality? That is at the level of governance. When you go to the communities, madam, you need to reach out there. The policy on education is harsh. During the UPC government, I'm sure Honorable Orin would smile, the heavier part of education was funded by the center, university education and others. But now, a whole government has come back to finance primary education, where my grandmother can also sell a heap of firewood and pay. And now people are selling land, people are selling properties to take their children to school. The workers are battling with the loans. About last year alone, nearly 18 teachers ran mad or had a mental conditions in Soroti District. Because of loans? Because of loans. They are struggling to. I mean, these are the challenges. These are the impacts of inequality. Unless, so, to me, the blame is with the policy. How do you come to pay primary education, which is cheaper, and then you surrender university education? So I think unless we address these discrepancies, income inequality is going to eat us up. MPs are getting close to 46 million, of which 90% is not taxed. But look at this councillor who gets 10,000 in a sub-county. 30% is scooped. Are you not widening? Are you not helping the rich to get richer and the poor to become poorer? An old woman who is taking her chicken to the what? To the market is taxed even before she sells. So there, who is operating a hotel is enjoying a tax holiday of 5-8 years. Okay. What is that?
Thank you. Inequality in Uganda.
The services in Uganda are not given equally. And there are resources in Uganda, but the resources also are not equally distributed. Take, for example, let's look at Island Tisai. When you go to Tisai, there's no health center in Tisai. And yet people in Tisai are paying taxes. There is no road to Tisai. But when you go to Kalangala, you find a school in Kalangala. And you find also a health center in Kalangala. But when people are from Tisai demand a service from the government, they are told that they cannot give a service to Tisai because there are no roads. Who should give a road to Tisai? That's my question. And therefore, you also find that even the people from Kalangala also pay the taxes as people from Tisai pay. Now, what should we do to ensure that all people get equal services? Yes. Now, look at the ratio. For example, when you look at the services that people from Tisai get, it is not equal to the services Kalangala get. And yet these are all people in Uganda. These are all people who are staying in where? In Uganda.
And paying
From
taxes.
the creation of Tisai, nobody has endeavored to have a health center in Tisai. What are those people? What are those people in Tisai? Are they animals who don't want a health center or what? Let's look at that.
Take the microphone, ma'am.
In Kalangala, you find that people are there and there are schools in Kalangala.
Why are you zeroing down on Kalangala?
These are two places which are all in what? Which are islands. But why are there services in Kalangala and there are no services in Tisai? And yet they are all paying what? Taxes. That's my concern.
Yeah.
And I must emphasize the government of Uganda that they should start distributing resources equally and even distribute services equally.
Thank you.
They say income quality. But I want to redefine the definition why Uganda has gone to this quagmire. I want us to define clearly from the Gregory point of view. If we define it, get it to well equality, then the government will address the issues of even our taxes will be utilized very well. Inequality, if we define in the form of status of not having equal status, not having equal rights, not having equal opportunities, it is the crumble and the cause of the misuse of the resources of Uganda. If we define equality at that level, then we can now talk about what? Inequality. Allow me also to say, where is our taxes going? Why is services poor? I begin to mention three things are critical in this country. Policy making is a problem, which is not distributing resources in this country. The second thing in this country, why our taxes are not used, is appropriation and allocation of the resources of this country. Most of the resources of this country is allocated to non-productive sectors. Look, for example, money for this country is going to security. I know somebody will argue with me, without security you cannot survive. But I want to ask you, in those who have done economics, for you, when you are investing, investment gives you what? Returns. Where we are supposed to invest the resources which can give us a lot of money is under agriculture. My dear brothers, I was analyzing the budget of Uganda for agriculture. It has been cut further. We have not even reaching to Mobutu Declaration of 10. Uganda is dropping from 10 to 3%. What kind of this we are talking about? So the other aspect why I see inequality in Uganda is an opportunity is not given equally. I read in my phone, somebody did analysis in this country, and what is they did a research. If you look at the top people in this country, it comes from 2 regions. And what does it mean? And all these top people are earning a lot of money. Where does that money go? It's because there is no equal opportunity. We have put the policy, we are saying there is a commission for equal what? Opportunity. Does it apply?
As that's where I remember, time up.
Thank you very much. Those are 3 critical areas where the money, why we are not benefiting from this. Let me summarize. 1, allocation is not allocated to a productive areas. 2, the definition of equality has been missed in Uganda. Okay. 3, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Corruption has eroded Uganda. And where corruption is, when certain people are arrested or implicated in corruption, they are favored. All people are not treated equally. If the Easterners, for instance, is maybe suspected of corruption, is taken to jail and is left there. If somebody from somewhere is suspected to have been handled maybe the corrupt tendencies, they are favored and they are not even arrested. So that is where we are having a problem. Another one is, Madam Speaker, we have a problem of budget cuts. We budget here in the districts, in the municipality. When the reaches there, we are told that there are budget cuts. What is always about that? Why do they allow us always in councils to approve budget? When they send them to Kampala, they are always brought that there are budget cuts without information. Why? Another thing is, Madam Speaker, we have problems. We have had situations where some of the district officials are either dead or they leave the offices. Yet when we want to recruit, we are again told to consult Kampala. They are what? That they are what do we call them? A ceiling. We are not clear. Yet we are supposed to be replacing these people. What happens?
Inequality.
Inequality. Now, for instance, we have a problem in Soroti Referral Hospital. This is a sitting district. We have doctors who have left the hospital. Right now, we have shortage of doctors in Soroti Referral Hospital. When we have problems in now Soroti Referral Hospital, there are very few doctors to attend to. We need that gap to be bridged. And I am praying, what I'm praying is, Madam Speaker, let the government create a special rapid response unit to cater for emergency cases in such situations.
I am looking at my real people in the village there who are agriculturalists. They are trying to work out how to benefit through agriculture. I am one of them. But my problem is there is a Ministry of Agriculture which is not performing well to direct the farmers deep there in the village, because the choice of variety of seeds, we are not well informed. You find today you are told the government is bringing citrus fruits. When you turn to that, there's no market where you can sell your oranges. Oranges are rotting deep there in the villages, nowhere to sell them. On the other hand, even the civil servants themselves, who have been directed to offer services in those ministries, are not performing well. They don't go deep into the village there to direct the farmers. So we are just guessing things. Government is not helping us much, so that when people grow cotton, there is actually market and there are fixed prices.
I want to talk about Operation Well Creation, where I am directly in charge in the district, because I'm Secretary Production. These people are sent inputs from Kampala without even a single coin for monitoring. So how do you expect this staff to go to the field to do the monitoring? Definitely, that's a very big challenge. And I think government need to look at it. That when you send crops, then people should be able to take them up to the grassroots, but also to monitor, to see the impact of what we are doing. Unfortunately, that component is not there. When you go to the offices, they say our work is only to deliver. What follows next is up to the Almighty God to know. The other thing also I want to talk about, Madam Speaker, is the creation of these new administrative units. New districts, new sub-counties and counties has also affected the country so much that we are not progressing, because most of the money is used to address public expenditure, paying salaries and other things. But when you look at the money that goes for service delivery, totally there is completely nothing.
Most people have spoken about inequality, but there's none who has touched on the issue of mobility. And yet we are talking about bridging the gap between the poor and the richer, when we have the people with disabilities crawling in the villages without mobility. No district, actually, let me say, no district has ever put in budget for mobility for people with disabilities.
And yet you are not even exempted from taxes.
Exactly, we are paying, actually, we are paying more taxes. For me, I'm paying more taxes as me, but my brothers and sisters who are in the village, they are not even benefiting. Actually, some of you come from the villages, you have the villages. Just take around, go back to the villages if you don't have a person with disability who is crawling right now. When do you think that person will become richer? When there's no mobility. And we know that mobility has the power to reduce limitation, increase opportunities. So what we are saying is that government must come in with a policy of putting budget for mobility. It can be a wheelchair, it can be a tricycle.
How can we end this inequality? How can we even up as a country? How can we even it up as a country and government to end inequality in Uganda? Let's go for a short break, and when we come back, we are going to find solutions that will help government even up and end inequality in Uganda. Yes, welcome back. You are still watching your favorite program, NTV People's Parliament, sitting here in Soroti District, chaired by none other than your speaker, Agnes Nandutu. We are talking about a very important topic that affects the entire Uganda. You have heard the voices of the people of Soroti. There is a lot of inequality in this country, despite the fact that they are paying several taxes, right from indirect tax, pay as you earn, mobile money tax, social service tax, name it, local government tax. We are paying a lot of taxes. But what Ugandans are saying, there is a lot of inequality. They are not benefiting from the payment of taxes. So we want to find solutions on how we can help government balance the... Yes, Mayor.
One, I want to talk in terms of trade. If government requires to bring quality inequality removed in terms of trade, is actual government to stick to easy principles and policies that are well laid in this country and remove the aspect of foreigners being given the tax holidays. If you agree with me that if a local company happens to actually get into trade, into a bigger component, URI is sent with all the machineries of the state house and state operators to come and tax it, and that company, local company, will die. For example, in Soroti here, there are quite a number of people that have died and others have got out of what? Business, because of poor taxation policies. But that are deliberate to incriminate and also make sure that a certain tribe or section of people within certain area may not be. But I would like to wish that the government must be able to stick to these principles. Uganda is a country that has better laws, but these laws are never applicable in the same way, if you could agree with me. Secondly, if government of Uganda requires actually to balance this, is actually government to have a deliberate effort to allocate resources in terms of to agriculture sector.
I want to focus especially on the education sector. There is a policy that says that, especially in primary, that one teacher per class. Now, that policy was developed some time back when the population was still small. Today, when we say one teacher per class, you find that a class, those days the class was at 55 pupils. But today you find that one class, especially in the UPE, one class is 150 or 160. Now, if one teacher, or even 200 pupils in one class, and you're saying one teacher, I wish when we were talking like this, the honorable members of Parliament of Soroti District are here, and also the honorable members of TESO. Next time, Oxfam, when you're calling this kind of program and NTV, please bring all these people, because these are the people we want to ask to challenge. They should move a private motion and say this policy is not working. In the case of us, it is not working.
The people are watching, the powers that be are watching us now.
I really want to call upon, I am challenging my honorable members of Soroti.
Please come to the microphone if you are giving information.
All MPs were duly invited. Some even confirmed that they would be here. The reason why they are not here is personal, and it is us to decide. We hope next time they will be.
Recently, the government introduced another tax, that is the OTT and mobile money tax. That is to improve on the service delivery. But looking at where I come from Serere, next to Soroti. Our services keep on, actually, our services are not improved. From the time the taxes have been were imposed up to now, we see that even at the health centers, our women still deliver on the floor. But when you go to other places, like you go to Bushenyi, you go to Ishaka, you go to Mbarara, you find health center too. The services provided at the health center too are much better than the services provided at the health center in Serere. Now, looking at, sometimes it gives me worries that, is it my RDC who takes a report to the president that people from Serere are not paying taxes? I keep wondering, up to now I haven't got the answer. Now, that is, looking at the solutions, I would actually rush to the solutions. I would say the community, the citizens, should be sensitized on their right to demand for a service delivery. But where comes a challenge, sometimes we can mobilize, we can organize to meet our leaders, since the Constitution provides an option that we have a right to hold our leaders accountable. But it becomes a challenge once we go and approach the leaders.
they mistake us. They say, these are youth of the people power. And you find yourself being put inside. But when youth from Kampala demonstrate, when citizens from Kampala demonstrate, you find a president donating them 200 million. I do not know why is it happening in that way.
I want honorable members here to know that the issue of inequality is corruption. I want us to know that we all understand that in our country, we have heard about the commissions that have been set up to review salaries of civil servants. You find that somebody gets over 40 million, somebody is getting 150,000. So from that point of view, I am suggesting that there is need for uniform review of salaries, because this has posed a very great challenge in terms of the income, where you find there is a very big gap, and that has perpetuated poverty, and we see that as a high avenue of corruption. And then, honorable members, we have talked about special needs. Special needs in our country is an area that has been neglected. I am telling you, when you go to a number of districts in this country, you find that the districts are trying to respond to the needs of especially children living with disabilities by providing ramps for access to class. But is that enough? When you follow up, you actually find that the teachers to teach these children are not in place. I am telling you, we conducted a study recently, and we had a lot of interaction with the district leadership, the DEOs, and they actually said they do not have a deliberate plan even to train these teachers.
The worst in terms of poverty, in the poverty estimates released by Uganda Bureau of Statistics, was Karamoja at 60.8, and followed by Bukedi at 47.5, Busoga at 42.1. Madam Speaker, your region where you fall, the Elgon region, including Bugisu and Sebei, 40.9, and Teso, 40.5, where we are, Madam Speaker, Acholi, 34.7, Bunyoro, 27.5, West Nile, 27.2, Central region, 24.3, Toro region, 20.8, Kigezi, 19.5, Lango, 17.6, and then the blessed Ankole, 11.6. Madam Speaker, these statistics speak for themselves. I think there is a need for a concerted effort to see how do we develop the whole country as entirety. Madam Speaker, today as we sit here, I served this district as a district speaker and as national chair of the Speakers Association in this country. I attended a number of cabinet retreats, and in many of the ministerial policy statements, you would be shocked to learn that the budget for tea and refreshments at a ministry is higher than the budget for health in a whole district in this country. Madam Speaker, we need to get serious, and I'm glad that the People's Parliament is here today to give us an opportunity to raise these issues. On the way forward, Madam Speaker, number one, as a government, as a people, we need to work on increasing productivity and access to markets for our people. It is important. This is directly aligned to the budget for agriculture. Number two, Madam Speaker, we need to review the allocation formula in this country so that together we can develop this country as one. Finally, Madam Speaker, this is very important. We need to stop wasteful expenditure as a country.
A government tries as much as possible to apply the law of equity in the distribution of resources. For those of you who are familiar with the budgeting cycle, there is an elaborate formula applied when resources are distributed. Now, when you look at our budget we are implementing at Soroti, we are implementing a budget of 26 billion shillings. And that money is not a cup of tea. It's a lot of money. And that one excludes money for projects which are funded by the central government, the roads, the fruit factory, and all the rest. 26 is our budget, which comes directly to us. Now, the bulk of that money trickles down to the people of Soroti. certainly. Because even if it is salaries, people buy things from Soroti. If it is construction, people buy construction materials from Soroti. Now, the solution to the inequality. How do you strategize yourself to tap into the 26 billion? What are you selling? What good are you selling? What service are you selling? So that you tap into the 26 billion and you improve your income. Another point, Madam Speaker, the last one, is on tax inequality. One of the things government is also very passionate about is to emphasize indirect taxes. And for those ones who have studied taxation, they will tell you that that's the best way of taxation. Why? Because with indirect taxes, the richer pay more and the poorer pay less. How? If you are poorer, you will buy one bottle of water, you will pay probably 100 shillings as taxes. But if you are richer, you'll, on top of water, buy beers and all that, and you'll pay more taxes.
And that money sometimes come out of embezzlement.
So, essentially, that's why there is an emphasis on indirect taxation.
Just in 1 minute, honorable member. Just come, you kill it from here.
I've served this council for the last 10 years. I'm called Mohammed Nasur. And according to our budget, we've been sending, we don't have an ambulance in Soroti District local government. When you talk of 26 billion shillings, we don't disregard that. It's money. But how it's utilized, Ministry of Defense takes a lot of money, whereas there are maybe few individuals who benefit. We don't have an ambulance in Soroti District local government. Maybe because of time, we'll discuss supporting government. We agree we would support it, but it's inadequate. 26 billion shillings is a peanut.
As you have heard, the citizens are crying out for better services, for better health care, for quality education, for increased spending, under social protection. We call upon government to listen to the voices of the citizens, because we would like to have a productive nation, a healthy nation, a well-educated nation, and an empowered nation that's free of poverty and inequality.
Government should even up allocation of resources, especially between the local government and the central government, because the local government is the one closer and nearer to the people. If that is evened up, so that the one who is closer to the people gets more than the one who sits at the top. Because the evidence is clear. I've never seen LOC5 moving around carrying money on his head distributing. He does not have that envelope. But the center has. So number two, I think there is the issue to harmonize policy in terms of actualizing. I had one councillor saying one classroom is 200 and 200 people. It is by policy. I don't think, Madam, that it has been amended. By policy, a classroom, a quality primary education service is one teacher to 45 at what 55. It has never changed. If you see that abnormality, that is an issue. That's why I said we need, Soroti District alone needs 31 billion to build the new classrooms and improve primary education alone. Okay. So Banakau 26 is nothing. If education alone needs 31 billion to put 400 classrooms, so that we come at par. How much? I've not talked about education, I've not talked about the road sector. We need a Marshall Plan. I think that's my second solution. To even up inequality, government needs to spend more. It is a policy on social services like education and health. These are the two drivers of economic mobility. If you want to raise up people, then you must improve. That's why Scandinavian countries are relatively stable.
Thank you, honorable members, for being part of this parliament. Because of time constraints, we cannot continue that. I'm happy that you came in big numbers. Those who have been watching us, you have heard the voices of the people of Soroti. You have heard their solutions. Let us even up and end inequality in this country. Let me hope the powers that be are listening, that the citizens have spoken. As the Constitution goes, that the power belongs to the people. The people who have the power have spoken. It is now upon you, the implementing government, to ensure that you better the lives of Ugandans, since they are the people who contribute to the taxes of this country. Thank you. I'm your speaker, Agnes Nandutu, and I aspire to inspire you before I expire.
Views expressed on this show do not represent those of NTV or its staff.
NTV, turning on your world.